century, it was England. We always heard the stories, the sun never set on the British Empire. I can still remember as a young boy, and some of you who are a little older maybe remember, or you've seen the pictures, that at Yalta there was Roosevelt and Churchill and Stalin. They were dividing up the world. They were dividing up boundaries and lines. And now we love Great Britain, but it's not the dominant power. And the 20th century was the American century. Because of what many of you did and your parents did and grandparents did, it was the American century. We defeated the Germans and we rebuilt Europe. We defeated the Japanese and we rebuilt Japan. The 20th century was the American century. The question is, what will the 21st century be? Many people are concerned and believe that it could be the 21st century could be the Chinese century. I don't want the 21st century to be the Chinese century. In China today, there are 30 Catholic bishops in jail. In China today, there are hundreds of Protestant pastors in jail. In China today, they plundered Tibet. In China today, there are cyber attacks against DOD and everybody, almost every agency, over and over almost every day. So the world would be a different world. The number one advocate and supporter for the genocide in Darfur is the Chinese government. They are furnishing AK-47s, Antonov bombers, Soviet Hind helicopters. They are basically the advocate for the genocide that's taking place. So for these young children and my grandchildren and your grandchildren, I want the 21st century to be the American century. It's our values, the values that the students at Tiananmen had when they had that papier-mâché Statue of Liberty of freedom. They all know the words. In fact, sometimes when you go to dictatorial countries, they know the words of the Declaration of Independence sometimes better than we actually do. There is that chair that many of you have seen, and I mentioned it last night. Carolyn and I, 2 weeks ago, took one of our grandsons. We have a daughter who she and her husband have a Christian school, the William Wilberforce School in Princeton, and we took one of their sons back a week ago Friday, and we stopped at Independence Hall. At Independence Hall, as a young kid, I was raised in Philadelphia. I used to walk through Independence Hall every day to the advertising sales department of Saturday Evening Post. You remember those of you who are older, Jack and Jill, Saturday Evening Post. And I would run my hand right across the Liberty Bell and go on. In that chamber there is the chair that Washington sat on. And if you recall the story that Franklin says, I looked at that, it was a carved sun on the back of the chair that Washington sat. He said, is it a rising sun or is it a setting sun? And then he said, after they finished, he said, I now believe that it's a rising sun. I want us to be honestly, ethically, morally decent to be able to say, America's best days are yet ahead, and the sun has barely begun to rise on our country. And the beginning of that can be to take the House in 08, to take in 10, to take the General Assembly, House and Senate in 11, and then to elect a president that we can be proud of, who's honest, decent, ethical, moral, who can run this country, whereby we can honestly say America's days are yet ahead, the best days, and the sun has barely begun to rise on our country. Thanks for your help and support this year. I appreciate it very, very much.